Now we continue the discussion on transfer of learning and we look into the conditions and principles of transfer. Okay, so the first one, so here we will have a discussion of each of these columns now. So you have the condition or the factor affecting the transfer, and then the principle, and then the implication. What will you do as a future teacher in order to apply this principle? So for the first one, the factor is similarities between two learning situations. So the more similar um, one learning situation is into how the person will apply it, the better it will be for the learner. No? So the more similar the two situations are, the greater the chances that learning from one situation will be transferred to the other situation. So what should you do as a teacher? You involve your students in learning situations and tasks that are similar as possible to the situations where they would apply the task. So as an example, let me share with you uh, our fourth year students take their internship, and you see they're able to teach in the public school. This is a kindergarten classroom in the public school, and they have enough time to really mingle with the students and really teach them. See, so these experiences they have would help them in actually teaching in classrooms like this. Okay, so this is an application of similarity between two learning situations, or similarity between how they learn a skill and where they would be applying this skill. No? So an application of this is internship or practicum. The more exposure they have, the more they practice their skills in this setting, the more they will be prepared to teach. Okay, the second one, the factor for transfer is the degree of meaningfulness and relevance to learning. So, meaningful learning leads to greater transfer than rote learning. So, you should be able, I always emphasize this in our class, always make connections from your past learning to the new one, because the more meaningful it is to you, the more you'll be able to apply it. Provide many opportunities for your learners to link new material with what they have learned in the past. So simply, we will be able to see uh, the, sorry, we will be able to see the connection of Brunner and Piaget and the different theories that we had up until transfer of learning and also concept learning. And we see that connecting each of these will help us learn it better. Okay, the next factor is length of instructional time. So the longer time you spend in instruction, the greater the probability of transfer. No? So it's important to teach topics in depth rather than many topics tackled in a shallow way. And this is the reason why we are doing this flip classroom. I videotape the lectures so that you will have more time watching the lectures again, and therefore having extending the instructional time. And then we have activities that apply what we learn when we see each other in class. So that is an application so that most likely you'll be able to transfer learning. What you learned in facilitating learning, you can apply later when you are already teaching. The next one is variety of learning experiences. So the more exposure to many varied examples and many opportunities to learn, the better will be the learning of your students. So we illustrate new concepts and principles with a variety of examples, and you plan activities that will allow your learners to practice their newly learned skills. For example, you expose children to a lot of books about plants, like what we have here, the tiny seed, the enormous potato. People need plants, hungry plants, all of this. And then probably you invite a farmer so that they would learn from the farmer. And then maybe in your own school, like especially in the public schools, they have huge gardens. They can actually do planting activities there. Or the children can actually visit the farm and do some planting there. Okay, so this is an example of having varied activities, reading, field trips, exposures, so that they'll be able to really learn something in depth. Okay, and then the next one is the context for the learner's experiences. It's always good to relate the topic in one subject or in other disciplines. So this is similar to the other one. That's why I was looking for this slide. No, so as I have mentioned, you link what you learn to with Piaget, Vygotsky, Brunner, Ausubel, constructivism, all of that. And when you are able to put that in a context that's meaningful, then you're able to apply what you learned better. Okay, the next one is focus on principles rather than tasks, and principles transfer easier than facts. Or you mean facts? Okay, so always zero in on principles related to each topic together with strategies based on those principles. That's very important. So it's not merely remembering facts. It's more of principles because these are the ones that can actually be applied. And the last one is emphasis on metacognition. Student reflection improves transfer of learning. So you see, for every module, we have a 5 minute writing where you are given the chance to really think about what you learned and how you think you can apply. Remember, I always tell you, don't just repeat, don't just give a summary in your 5 minute writing. Indicate there how you think you would be able to use it. So in that way, we are making you reflect how you would transfer your learning, how you would use it, how it is meaningful to you. So in the future, also always encourage your students to take responsibility for their own learning and to reflect on what they have learned. So very important to use metacognition and that they describe what it is that they learned, they analyze, they evaluate. Is this something useful for me? Is this something that can make me a better teacher? Or in what situation can I use this strategy? Where can I apply this? So it's very important that a teacher does metacognition. Okay, so to end this, it's good to remember the more understanding, the better the transfer. The more varied the experiences, the more a person reflects what he or she learned, the better the understanding would be, and the better would be the transfer. And that is effectively uh, learning. And as a teacher, you'll also be an effective facilitator of learning.